Good morning, everyone. How are we doing? Sunday, June 7th. And I want to start off this particular daily financial news by answering a question that I was tagged in some Facebook groups. So on occasion, I do get tagged in Facebook groups I'm a part of. And given that I was tagged a couple of times to respond to the surprising unemployment number on Friday, I thought I would record this here so I can just attach it to the response. So first and foremost, I've seen a lot of people still 48 hours later kind of arguing about the data. I think I've said this before, but I'll say it here. For me, it's never really so much about any individual month's number. I think, there are lies, damn lies, and statistics. And I have known that for 30 years or so, because when you go through and get your MBA, one of the classes you take are stats, and it is so easy to look at any data set and tweak a good response or a bad response. So I have long since given up on any individual economic statistics. What I do look for is the trend, right? I am looking for the trend. And the reason the trend is important to me is it goes back to the heart of this YouTube channel. The heart of this YouTube channel are two things. One is what is going on in the minds of the consumers. Why is that important? Well, if I want to go buy some rental properties, my biggest competitor is the owner-occupant market. And what I want to track what the consumers are doing, because again, they can pay more than me, right? I need cash flow. I need conservative financing. I need to be able to hold for the long term. And when consumers are hopeful, greedy, all of those things, like 2006, prices go crazy and they don't make sense. I would argue that the same thing happened in multifamily in 2019, right? So I am always looking for where the consumer is on that trend. And Friday, I believe, is an important day. And it's hard to say that because my crystal ball is as good as yours. But when I think of Friday and I think of all the positive news that should come from this, I could see again in the real estate market, people are going to start being more, I don't know if it's aggressive, let's say hopeful. And what that means is we could finally get off the bottom of all of these listings, right? We're at about 1 million listings, maybe 1.1, where we should be closer to 1.4, just looking at the last 3 years. And I'll thank Brian Lebo for that chart. We're just, if we stay at the million level, there's no supply. So prices will, of course, go up. But if we do get a wave of listings and then that dwarfs demand, we'll see prices flatten and in some markets go down. So again, it is always been about the consumer for me, but also don't forget my second one, which I haven't talked a lot about, but it's the cost of capital. The largest expense I have in my real estate is the mortgage. And that's true for most people. And I don't know what to tell you, but mortgage rates are going to go up, right? The Fed can hold the low end or the short-term end low, but if the economy starts to take off and we really start to get this engine going, you can count on rates going up. In fact, they went up last week already. They didn't go up much, but they went up a little, and I'll talk about that in my next piece. So in the end, to answer the Facebook questions, I think arguing about the number, the math behind it misses the point. I think you could argue any month's number, and then pretty soon you're not doing anything. So for me, it is about what is going on in the market. I believe Friday has a very good chance to make the consumers happy or hopeful. And that could really, if the consumer goes from afraid to go outside to everything's normal, V-shaped recovery and a half, right? We need to figure out where people will be in this spectrum, because I think it is very clear. Some people will say there's nothing going on, it was fake news, and then some people still won't leave their house. We have to figure out where that is. So hopefully that answers the Facebook questions. I see Friday as an important day. I see it as a sign that the consumer, my competitor, is getting hopeful from extreme fear. So it's a good thing, and hopefully in 4 or 5, 6 weeks we see real listings go up. That will be the sign. Will real estate agents call all of those people that were thinking about selling in the spring and say, now's the time. Now's the time to list? We're going to know. And again, I'm saying this on June 7th. So by July 15th, we'll know. If listings across the country go from 1.1 to like 1.3, I was right. If listings stay at 1.1 or heaven forbid go lower, I was wrong. So that's what I think. So next up, couple of things. First off, looks like big markets are starting to see rent deflation. We called New York out 2 or 3 weeks ago. I think it was 8%. That's from memory, so I could be wrong. San Francisco was reported sometime last week, 9%. And now you have LA down 3% just in a month. Folks, this leaving the busy hubbub cities is real. The move to the suburbs is real. The move out of California and out of New York is real. This is going to have impact. This is going to be an impact, right? If you are a REIT focused on New York, San Francisco, LA, right? Class A markets, whew, man, if you bought in the last couple of years, you overpaid. And also that means that if you were looking to buy a home in the suburbs or out of state, you have a lot of freaking competition. I mean, look at Las Vegas, right? We had Brian Lebo on yesterday. Transactions were down 50%, but prices went up. In Vegas, are you freaking kidding me? Go figure, right? So again, the move out of California is real. And I think it only gets, I don't know if it's considered worse or better, more active from here. California is it's going to be interesting around here for a couple of years. That slow balloon leak is going to be legit for a while. The other thing we are seeing is there's an article published in the Multi-Housing News. It was a study by Harvard University. Talk about a muckety-muck university. In the report, just like I've been saying on this channel, Class A apartments are going to feel the impact the most. They're stating that they have been overbuilt. They are likely to give a month or two of free rent, which is significant. And again, I've been telling you the move out of apartments, specifically Class A, is real, right? We are seeing consumer behavior change right in front of us. And you can only do that by learning your market and watching your market and see what is going on. The move from apartments to houses is real. People want space. They always remember the last crisis. And in this crisis, space equals good. Just got to understand that. A couple other things caught my attention. It looks like there is a REIT, CBL and Associates. The symbol is CB as in boy, L. They issued a note on the weekend, just this morning, saying that they are not sure if they can keep ongoing operations. They are a mall operator, one of the largest mall operators behind Simon Properties. And they're basically saying, given the rent strikes by retail operators, that they could be forced into bankruptcy very quickly. Man, I remember when I had my 401k, all my monies were in REIT, because that's just, staying in real estate. And man, glad I got out of that stuff. The REIT market, office, retail, it has changed. And if transactions were done in the last 2 or 3 years, they're now looking expensive. Other things I found is we have hospitals, more articles about hospitals. We have to help the hospitals. The fact that hospitals are struggling and frankly going bankrupt because of their elective surgeries being postponed or people just scared to go there is a problem. And if we don't help the hospitals limp through, I don't know, what would it be, the next 3 to 6 months as the engine kicks back off, we could be in trouble. We all need hospitals for those bad days that life brings at us. And to have one shuttered wouldn't do any good. So we need to do something there. Next up, I talked about this last Sunday. Mark Zuckerberg was getting some heat from employees. It built up. Monday was a virtual walkout. He had uh, a town hall meeting on Tuesday, which really didn't go all that well, according to my friends. And he issued something over the weekend, or it might have been Friday, that he's going to build products to advance racial justice. Uh, I don't know. It's an interesting tagline, but Mark, you're a white guy. What do you know about racial justice? We need to stop being arrogant and think that we can do everything. So maybe you could fund, right? Pay for the advancement or creation of products. That would be cool, right? You got enough bank, buddy. Go spend some money. Go invest. But to think that you can do it just because you were some smart Harvard dropout that built a one-time app that took off is arrogance beyond belief. Uh, let's stop doing that. So, Mark, go fund the creation of products or applications to advance racial justice. That would have been a better statement. Next up, just some good news from around the world. Germany posted some good news saying that restaurant bookings in Germany are back to pre-health crisis, which I think is awesome. Again, we got to look for early signs. We heard from Brian Lebo yesterday that Vegas restaurants were full, at least full to capacity, but you have to remember that capacity is now shrunk to 30 or 40% of historical capacity. So, you know, we just have to get through this. I'm very nervous for restaurants because I don't think they signed lease or have, frankly, they're not, restaurants are not charging enough for food. Let's just be real. Restaurants were operating on margins that were barely able to be profitable in an old model. So restaurants, if you own a restaurant, you need to raise prices, at least until, call it a surcharge. Maybe it's a health crisis surcharge, 2x or something. If you're going to stay in business, your expenses are higher than they used to be because now you have all these cleaning expenses and your revenues are lower. You need to be honest with people and say, hey, we've got to raise prices at least while capacity is restricted. Otherwise, it'll be a death by 1,000 cuts and you'll be out of business. It's just the way it works. That's economics 101. Then we have the K-shaped recovery. Again, thanks to a viewer of this channel, they named it or introduced that concept to me 6 weeks ago. It's real. I think it is absolutely going to be a K-shaped recovery. If you are lucky enough to own assets and things of that nature, you are on the uptick for sure. V-shaped recovery all the way. But we are leaving, unfortunately, a significant set of individuals behind, and they are on the bottom of the K, and they will be worse off after this. And that's we have to acknowledge that and make sure that that is something that we work to resolve going forward, because it is clearly a cause of a lot of the consternation that we are suffering through right now. That it's not okay to leave large sets of communities behind us. Flip over the page. What else do we have? So have you ever heard of ESG investing? E is in elephant, S is in Sam, G is in good. I didn't hear of it, never heard of it, but apparently it is taking off. It stands for environmental, social, and governance. Sounds good. Basically, that form of investing has taken off, at least if you believe the stats. They had a record Q1 raise of over $10 billion. As I read the article, because again, I didn't know anything about ESG investing, it seems to be a dominant force by younger investors wanting to do good, which is awesome. I have to do some more research on it. So again, something to look for. It seems to be taking off in this environment, which could really make a difference. Back to mortgage rates, they did tick up last week, ever so slightly, but again, these are signs of what I think is coming. They ticked up to 3.18. Again, low, no question, but a trend, at least a data point at this point. We'll see if it's a trend in a month. But if rates get to 4.5% for 30-year money, that'll slow down the real estate market. There's clearly we get used to low rates. Just go back and look at the end of 2018 to see what happens if rates go up. And again, the Fed can't control 30-year money. They can control the short end, not the long end. And again, what we're looking for is, for me, it's all about the consumer being hopeful, to go back to the opening of this. And some of the signs that I look for if the consumer is hopeful is mortgage apps. Again, I know, and you always remind me that mortgage apps don't equal an approval, but that's not what I look for. More new mortgage applications rising, which they have for 6 weeks in a row, means the end consumer is hopeful. You don't sign up for $100,000 or $200,000 or $300,000 mortgage if you're not hopeful. Look for airlines. I know capacity is down over 80% from 2019. Not the point. What I'm looking for is it going up? Are they hopeful? Right? Travel is an important thing. Is the business travel or leisure travel, right? These are hopeful things. And then, frankly, I am watching Las Vegas. I've had Brian Lebo on 3 times now, and will continue to bring him on. I am looking for Vegas. Vegas is the coal mine for me, right? And it's going to be the canary. Does the canary survive or does it not? We can't really look at opening weekend, which by all accounts is a wild success. To quote Steve Wynn, we will see what happens at the end of June because there is clearly pent up demand, which is the first wave. We'll see how it's doing in 3 or 4 weeks. So that's what I'm looking for. That's what I got for you. The Sunday Daily Financial News on June 7th. Again, realize a couple of things on this channel. If you find any positive articles, just feel good stories, make sure you put a link below. I'm going to do that a couple of times a week because I just think we need to smile more. Don't forget about subscriber questions. I haven't done that in a while. If you have a subscriber question about real estate investing, leave it below. I will do my best to create videos. And at the end of the day, have a wonderful Sunday. Take care. Bye.